Jesus, I downed that. I had a hot chocolate. It's like a I don't know what is it actually called? The hot chocolate machine that you made. Oh, I didn't really want to show that. Oh well. Actually, let me be safe. Good. Gonna close that. Go back. Yeah, I had a hot chocolate from Hotel Chocolat. Hot chocolate maker. What is it called? It's like the Versatile or something like that. The Velvetizer. Basically, what it does is that it takes milk and froths it up and warms it so that it's like a perfect temperature for hot chocolate stuff. Sorry, I just realized. Always realized. Oh, I've got all the wrong things on screen. That's okay. We're good. It's actually showing. Yeah, that's not the current time. It's not even the current battery. There you go. Oh, sorry. I got burpees. Let's get the right screen. I don't need this right now. No, do I not need this at all? I think I do. Um, Jesus. Sorry, I'm getting so distracted. So yeah, I had a hot chocolate, and it came. This is like a hazelnut one, and it's really good. You get like different hot chocolate packets with the thing. I got given it for my birthday. Very, 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 very lucky. Um, they're quite expensive to get the thing, but I drink hot chocolate quite often, so it kind of became a worthwhile purchase. Um, but anyway, let's watch some videos while I draw. I got some grapes here. I've never done this before, but you can freeze grapes, and they last about 6 months apparently. I don't think I'd want to keep a packet of grapes for 6 months, even if it was frozen. Actually, I don't know how cold this is now. Oh god. Very cold. Um, but yeah, you can keep them in the fridge for about 6 months or so. And then you're good. Sorry, my brain is all over the place. Let's draw. And I'm just gonna watch this video first. I kind of just watch random videos all the time. So I fancy watching this video. And basically my aim at this point is to fill in gaps in between so that I keep changing perspective. So I might fill in some gaps here, some gaps there. We'll see what we do. I'm going to watch this real quick because I want to kind of try a soda-y drink.
With a few simple ingredients and normal kitchen gear, you can have a delicious, fresh, homemade citrus soda that glows. Well, technically, it doesn't really emit light, but it does have a very vivid color that's totally natural. Nearly every step of this is something kids can do. The only thing a grown up needs to handle is the boiling syrup. Here's the base formula I've devised: 1 part sweet citrus, that's oranges, grapefruits, anything you'd consider eating out of hand; 1 part sour citrus, lemons, limes, anything that'd be too tart to eat by itself; 2 parts glowing syrup, recipe forthcoming; and 3 parts of club soda or seltzer. Not sparkling water, that's not bubbly enough; and not tonic water, that's usually sweetened, which would throw off the formula, plus kids might not like the bitter note of quinine. Ideally, buy your club soda in these little bottles or cans because you need it to be maximally fizzy when you mix your soda. A big bottle you open will be flat by the time you use it a second time. For my first soda, I'm going to do pink grapefruit and lime.
I don't know where my thing's gone. Stop mirroring. Stop mirroring. Nice. Okay. We're good?
Before we juice them, we need to zest them, and the best tool for that is a microplane grater, though you could use a box grater. You're trying to scrape off the intensely flavorful and colorful outer peel while leaving the bitter white pith underneath. You can do it kind of haphazardly. You don't have to get every single molecule of zest off, but if you want to be thorough about it, scrape down in one long motion, rotate the fruit a little bit, scrape down in another long line, rotate, repeat. See? If you've left behind any big long strips like that, it's easy to go back and get those. One long scrape. You're trying to scrape off a microplane grater, though you could use a box grater. You're trying to scrape off.
Yeah, I was about to say, can't you just use a box grater? I guess like a box grater is just way easier. I get that that's probably more designed for the job, but especially Adam Ragusa, he normally doesn't care about these fancy things.
The intensely flavorful and colorful outer peel while leaving the bitter white pith underneath. You can do it kind of haphazardly. You don't have to get every single molecule of zest off, but if you want to be thorough about it, scrape down in one long motion, rotate the fruit a little bit, scrape down in another long line, rotate, repeat. See? If you've left behind any big long strips like that, it's easy to go back and get those. One long scrape. Once you're done, check it out. Most of the zest will be stuck on the underside of the grater. Just tap to get it out. One more time. One long swipe, rotate slightly. Another long swipe, rotate. If you use this method, you'll find that it still leaves a lot of zest around the very top and very bottom. That's easy to go back and get. I'll blast through maybe 6 of these limes, and then I'll do the grapefruit. Whoops, got to take the sticker off for this. Oils in that zest are just so potent, your kitchen will smell amazing at this point. Citrus is so strong that you can literally use a lemon as a battery. That's another great activity to do with kids, and once you've powered up, you can power down with the sponsor of this video, the Black Hole Battery Drainer.
Feel like I should
full battery? Say goodbye to that power with the Black Hole Battery Drainer, officially the world's fastest battery drainer, compatible with any battery-powered device. 100 to 0% in under 15 seconds. Power goes in, but it won't come out. Guaranteed.
And boom, how's it going?
Yeah, awesome. Why would I want this?
Cool, now I can't use my phone at all.
And who brings you the Black Hole Battery Drainer, which is not a real thing and not actually the sponsor of this video? Why, it's Raid Shadow Legends, the actual sponsor of this video. Seriously, even Old Man Ragusa is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
Yeah.
A fantasy role-playing game you can download for free on iOS, Android, or PC. Even I
He is 4 years old.
battle from time to time, and boy, does this deliver. It's honestly stunningly made. Every day you log in, you can claim free rewards like energy refills or silver, and that rewards program for new players has been doubled from 90 to 180 days. Go to the description of this vid, follow my links anytime in the next 30 days, and if you're a new player, you'll get 100,000 silver and a free champion to play, Slasher. You'll see the rewards in your inbox right there. Thanks to Raid Shadow Legends for their support of me and like every other YouTuber. Seriously, where would we be without you? Okay, we got a nice big pile of zest at this point. Time to make simple syrup. A little pot on the stove. I'll put in a cup of white sugar and a cup of water. No need to stir, just turn the heat on high and bring this to a boil. If you're doing this with children, be extra careful. Hot syrup is dangerous stuff. As soon as it boils, your sugar is fully dissolved and you can just take it off the heat. Wait until it has stopped bubbling and then put your zest in. If you put in the zest while the syrup is still boiling, it'll turn brown. Gotta wait until the bubbling stops. Now give this a stir and let that sit and steep off the heat while you juice your citrus. You could juice by hand, but that's especially tough with limes. They're kind of hard. So I recommend a reamer, very cheap and effective tool. You'll generally get a cup of juice out of a grapefruit, 240 ml.
Fuck. Can you go away? Can't wait until the other Siri replaces you, the Apple smart one. There we go. It's fucking gone now. I don't know what the fuck. I hate Siri.
Always pick up the rind and give it one more squeeze by hand when you're done. There's pockets of stuff in there that the reamer won't reach. The little cup under my reamer is full, so I've got to pour that out. Just get any kind of bowl and put a sieve on top. There's still some pulp in that juice. Strain that through. I need a cup of lime juice to match the cup of grapefruit juice, and
You've ever had fresh orange juice? It's so good. In fact, I think in America they do better oranges there. There's a funny thing. Remember going to not a restaurant, it was like a cafe. And I just went there quickly because I wanted a drink. And I was like, okay, I'll just get an orange juice. Fucking cost me, I think it was like £5 for an orange juice. And I should have just said, that's stupid, no. But I was kind of desperate for a drink at that point, so I just said, yeah. I should have just went to the corner shop and bought a litre of orange juice, you know? That would have been way better than going to there. But it was fresh orange juice, and it was really, really fucking good. I guess it takes... But it's still... It never get orange juice for more than, like, £2. It's not worth it. It's not, like, that much better. I think you're better off squeezing the oranges yourself and buying the oranges yourself. And in the meantime, buying yourself a cheap orange juice.
I think 6 limes will do it, but always buy a little extra. A wise man once said, fruit is a gamble. Each one is different, and limes especially can be very juicy or not very juicy at all. Always buy extra. I think I need a 7th one, or do I? Lots of pulp always accumulates on the reamer, and you can kind of reach in with your fingers and squeeze it to get a fair bit more juice out. Strain that in with the grapefruit juice and keep that sieve and spatula. No need to clean them yet. We're going to pass our glowing syrup through there. Best thing for this next job is a big Pyrex measuring jug. I'm going to lay my sieve on top and note that the handle is kind of jammed into the countertop there. I need both hands on the syrup, so I can't be holding the sieve at the same time. It's securely positioned over the jug. One hand pours in the still hot syrup, while the other uses a spatula to get out anything that's clinging to the pan and then to press on the zest in the sieve. Push out any remaining syrup that's clinging in there. Alrighty, this is now too hot and too sugary. We'll fix both problems at once by putting in enough ice cubes to give us 2 total cups of syrup, 280 mils. How much ice you need will depend on how much water you evaporated when cooking the syrup. Just get 2 total cups. Stir that around and that is now ready to go. Beautiful, very strongly flavored stuff. Okay, let's mix up our first soda. A little ice in the glass if you so desire. Just eyeball 2 parts juice and 2 parts syrup. Then at the last second, crack open a club soda and pour in 3 parts soda. But that's just ballpark. You can add things in conservative amounts, mix, and then taste. If it's too sweet, add more juice. If it's too sour, add more syrup. Not bubbly enough, add more club soda. You've got enough raw materials for 4 standard 12-ounce sodas plus some extra for making adjustments. Okay, let's do another one. Equal parts orange and lemon this time. You might think that you just want orange, but almost everything orange flavored that you eat or drink has some additional stronger source of acidity. You mix straight orange with sugar and it's just drab. It needs some brightening. Everything is zested, cup of sugar goes in the pan, cup of water, bring it to a boil, and believe it or not, a pinch of salt at this point also really improves things, like it improves any sweet. Mass-produced sodas always have some form of sodium, like sodium citrate, which I keep in the house for emulsifying cheese sauces. Half a teaspoon. Not necessary, you could just use a pinch of regular salt. Comes to a boil, off the heat, wait for the bubbling to stop, in goes the zest, stir it around. Get a cup of lemon juice and a cup of orange juice. I ended up needing a 3rd orange because fruit is a gamble. Strain off the juice, then time to strain off the syrup. Squeeze out the last bits, then in goes enough ice to give us 2 cups of syrup, and there we go. Ice in the glass, 2 parts juice, 2 parts syrup, then 3 parts club soda. Nothing like a real orange soda. Absolutely delicious. Let's do one more. For this one, I'm going to make a half batch, just 2 sodas worth, and I'm going to use straight limes. That might sound boring and very tart, but I'm going to address both of those concerns. Zest up 6 to 8 limes, in goes half a cup of sugar and half a cup of water. Then let's spice this up. Literally, here's a whole black cardamom pod. You could put all kinds of spices in to boil in the syrup. Go nuts. I'll put in a little pinch of salt, too. The quantity of sodium citrate was much greater because sodium citrate isn't nearly as salty as sodium chloride. Wait for the bubbling to stop, and then put in the zest and stir it around. Juice up those limes, looking for a cup of juice total. Strain it off, then strain off the syrup. Press on the solids. In goes enough ice to get 1 cup total of syrup. Remember, I'm making a half batch. Ice in the glass, 2 parts juice, 2 parts syrup, then 3 parts club soda. And because this is maybe a little too tart, I'll grab a good old maraschino cherry along with some of its fire engine syrup. Stir, taste, adjust. There should be no guesswork here. Add things until you like it. Delicious, refreshing, and fun for young and old alike. Give it a shot.
Very cool. I'm just trying to see. Can you pop out this window? Can't really, can you? Up.
Here's the base formula I've devised. 1 part
Okay. Let's this is just Boogie freaking out. Cuts of Boogie freaking out. Okay. Let's see this. This is a loner box. This guy is really good when it comes to Israel-Palestine stuff. But it seems like you're talking about Trump with this one.
Trump talks to a black journalist. That's all you really need to know. Why did he do that? For some reason, Trump decided to attend this conference where he's getting taking questions from black journalists. Not sure why he decided to do that, but he did, so let's have a look.
This discussion continues a decades-long tradition during election years of inviting journalists to discuss the policies and their impact with the candidates who are running for president, and the impact of those policies, especially in black communities. Former Presidents George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Bill Clinton have attended the NABJ conventions either as...
I think it might be because Trump actually did a bit better than Republicans are usually expected to with the black vote in the last election, or when he beat Hillary, it was one of those ones. And he probably thinks he can do better, or thinks he can ride that momentum or capitalize on it. But the problem is that the more, I think, if you're black, the more you know about Trump, the worse it gets. And now that his opponent is a black woman, because she is a black woman, okay, I don't know why this is up for I don't know why this is up for debate all of a sudden. It's probably going to backfire. Yeah, that's just my prediction based on a hunch and what I've heard about this interview. But
from what I know about this interview, essentially Trump questioned whether or not Kamala Harris was a black woman or not. I think that's because of her... I don't know, does she have... Actually, I'm not going to say I don't know whether or not she's a black woman. She's clearly a black woman. But I don't know what her background is. I assume... I think there was some people saying that she was part of an Indian background. But I'm pretty sure she was born in America, right? She might even not even, like... She's probably like multi-generation, like all living in America. She's just American all the way through. It wouldn't surprise me. Early life, born in California. African American intellectuals and right-wing advocates constituted Harris's formative surroundings. Sorry, I should if I search, yeah, African American and Asian. American.
Presidents or as presidential candidates in past years. NABJ is currently in conversation with Vice President Kamala Harris's team to schedule a Q&A either in person or virtually in September. As journalists, we use opportunities like these both to inform our reporting, but also to help voters understand the choices that they face in a consequential and historic election year. NABJ has partnered with PolitiFact to fact-check this conversation in real time. You can access that feed on social media using the hashtag NABJFactCheck.
This is Trump's awful ground.
We have a lot to get to, and we do not want to waste any time, so let's bring out the former President of the United States, the Republican nominee for President, former President Donald Trump.
This is the music Keir Starmer should have had when he was coming on.
True.
Today's conference.
This does not seem like a music that Trump would choose. Cool
Come on,
music though.
Trump.
Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving.
Now, listen, Trump, you've been around for a while. You're getting old. You're going to be the oldest opposition candidate. The oldest challenger for the presidential title. Can you do it, Trump? Can you do it? Getting a bit slow recently, okay? You haven't really got your spark anymore. Let's see.
Us an hour of your time.
I love how that's how it's directed now. Trump is now, because there's been so much talk about how Biden is old, and he was old. Look, I can't deny it. He was old, but I'm going to say he was more mentally competent than people gave him credit for. He was he couldn't debate or speak too well, but I would argue that he has way more fight in him than. Well, I think Trump is more willing to fight. I will say that. I think Trump is more willing to fight, but I don't think Trump is more intellectually conversational. I don't know if I'm saying that right. He's not as intelligent by any means. It's almost okay.
I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today.
True.
You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States.
Obama.
That's not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking...
Sorry, I need to go back. I didn't hear all that.
Sir, a lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States.
That's true. So for those of you who don't know, probably one of the things that really sparked Trump to start running for president in the first place was during a roast against him. Let me see if I can get the video up. There was Obama who made fun of Trump. Now, Trump's been fairly politically active for many, many years. He's not ever run as a politician, but there's always been times when people talked about whether or not he was going to run or not, and all of that other stuff. Trump's also been, because of 9/11 as well, Trump was in a TV interview for that, because he was one of the big shots in New York. He still is. Obama roast Donald. It's literally one of the first videos. Cider. Just want a small video. Okay.
Fellow Americans, mahalo. As some of you heard, the state of Hawaii released my official long-form birth certificate. Hopefully, this puts all doubts to rest. But just in case there are any lingering questions. Tonight, I'm prepared to go a step further. Tonight, for the first time, I am releasing my official birth video. I want to make clear to the Fox News table, that was a joke. That was not my real birth video. That was a children's cartoon. Yes, I think it is fair to say that when it comes to my presidency, the honeymoon is over. For example, some people now suggest that I'm too professorial, and I'd like to address that head on by assigning all of you some reading that will help you draw your own conclusions. Others say that I'm arrogant.
Okay, you get the point. Yeah, so that was basically, I don't know if I wasn't really watching when it went to Trump or not, but the whole birth certificate issue of whether or not he was born in the US or not, that was all pretty much Trump, or at least Trump was the headline of that movement. People were convinced that he wasn't born in America and that he wasn't a true American and blah 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 blah. And thankfully that was eventually put into rest. Why isn't this coming in full color anymore? Come on. And then thankfully Obama just went, fuck it, look, here's my birth certificate, just to prove to you guys that you are absolutely insane. And when he made fun of him by putting on The Lion King to show off his birth video, he did that as just an extra dig against Trump, essentially, to say, fuck you, you shouldn't have doubted me there. And then that's when, I think, that is when Trump decided, I'm going to run. But we don't know for sure. He might have already begun running, not begun running, but he may have already had plans to run beforehand. But that certainly was a huge trigger.
Which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them losers, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So
I don't know, is that referring to Nick Fuentes and Kanye West?
my question,
Sorry, when I say Kanye, I mean Ye.
sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
If you're Trump now, I think, especially with the criminal indictments and with the performance against Biden, I think Trump, because of all the accusations that are made out of him, is he needs to disrupt the expectations. He needs to kind of make it like jarring and just be kind of like polite, be disarming, tell some jokes, maybe talk
That is not what, that's not Trump style.
about how good you were for Black America, because he'll do that, and about how he created lots of jobs and how he got more African American voters than any other Republican for however long years. Maybe something like that. Maybe don't really engage with those particular points. Just that's probably what the tactical approach would be. That's what I would suggest. But what's he going to say? Okay.
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say,
I didn't realize that this part was right at the start of the fucking recording. Jesus.
hello, how are you? Are you with ABC?
Okay, never mind. He didn't listen to my advice. Okay.
Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with...
By the way, I think employment, like minority unemployment at least, I don't know how specifically for black unemployment, but I think minority unemployment is the lowest it's ever been in history. under Biden. So just saying, there might be other things that that have helped the minority vote when Trump was around. It might have been that all of those actions are the result of Trump, but I don't think so. Anyway.
Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black
policy.
entrepreneurs.
Okay, yeah,
done
policy
so
mention.
much, and
That's good. That's good for the liberal coastal black elite. Yeah, okay, good.
you know, and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money, they were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like
Let's
that.
wait for
And
those
let me
fact
go a
checkers to
step
come
further.
along.
I was
so
invited
combative,
here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, you know, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late, just so we understand. I have too much respect for
Oh,
you to be late.
Jesus.
They couldn't get their equipment working or something
Mr.
was
President,
wrong.
I would love.
How do his supporters not see through this? Like, it's so combative, but he sounds like it's combative in a petty way, like childishly combative. He just sounds like
Just sounds like a whiny
he
bitch.
sounds like he sounds like he's sulking.
It's
Can
a
answer the
very
question on
nasty
your
question.
rhetoric and why you
I
believe
have
that
answered
black
the
voters should
question.
trust you with another
I
4
have been
years.
the best president for the black population since
Yes.
Abraham Lincoln.
Yes.
That's my answer.
Better than President
That's
Johnson,
my
who signed the
answer.
Voting Rights
And
Act.
for you to start off a question and answer
Oh
period.
God! When they say Lyndon Johnson, he should say that. I don't know why Republicans don't do this. If someone's going to say better than Lyndon Johnson, be like, what? Do you know how many times Lyndon Johnson said the N-word? He said the N-word all the time. You can read about it. It's in the liberal media. It's in the coastal media, NBC. I've said this before, okay? This is the best article about American history, politics ever. American political history. Okay, I shouldn't show it the whole. Okay, it's just this article is just it's very good. It's just very funny. It's just very weird to watch to read. It's just a very surreal read about the guy who passed the Civil Rights and the Voting Rights Act. Okay, he's very he says the N-word a lot, and he called the Civil Rights Act the N-word bill behind the scenes when after he passed it. Yeah, that's it. You should bring that up.
Especially when you're 35 minutes late because you.
But
couldn't get
I
your
feel like
equipment
he
to work
shouldn't bring that
in
up,
such a
obviously.
hostile manner. I
They're
think
getting
it's a
fucked.
disgrace. I
Let
really
me,
do.
let
I
me
think
just
it's
ask a
a
follow-up,
disgrace.
sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala
I really like this interviewer, by the way. They, I mean, I'm probably obviously going to like them because they're biased against Trump, but at the same time, like, if they were this harsh against Kamala Harris, that'd be great. It'd be great to see America actually have good interviewers for a change. I feel like America has terrible interviewers for the most part. They don't seem to want to interrupt. They want to ask very nice questions. They don't want to try and hard hit them too much. Yeah, I feel like they need to be more punishing.
Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define it?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
Give me a
literally the
definition then.
words
Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition of
Sir,
that.
I'm asking you a
Moss.
question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define it for me if you
I
want.
just
Andrew
defined
Wilson. Has he watched the Andrew Wilson debate? It's not his burden.
Sir, do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So, I've known her a long time
Nuance.
indirectly, not
Okay.
directly, very much.
Yes.
And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
Are we serious? Are we?
So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She is always.
What the? There is a way Trump can get out of this. Someone in chat said as well, when they're talking about his rude comments and all that, he can say, like, I'm rude to everyone. Like, I don't do it, never because of their race. I'm just rude to everyone. But
This is so awful.
so Kamala Harris is, her parents are Indian and Jamaican. So she's black and she's Indian, right? She's mixed race. And anyone who has mixed ethnicity understands is in different contexts or just at whatever time you might not say that you're both, right? It depends on context, depends on even just how much you want to bother sharing. Like, so if someone asks where I'm from, I'll usually just say Scotland, but if they ask where I'm from based on them hearing my name or something like that, then I'll say like half Lebanese. It's not like I can only be one or the other.
And now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always
But you know
identified
what?
as a black woman.
I
She went to a
respect
historically
either
black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't. Because she's Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made
This
a
is
turn.
such
She
an
went-
awful
she
defense.
became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you
And
believe
I
that
think
she is
somebody should look into that too when you ask.
Somebody should look into that. He's not questioning her fucking ethnicity, is he? He doesn't want her birth certificate. He wants her birth
Let's get a
certificate.
birth certificate, yeah.
He's gonna ask. He wants her birth certificate.
Continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some
I
Republicans
really
have
don't
said?
know. I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady right over there, Harris, is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length. And we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that
Well, you
interview.
told me it was the longest one of your life, so we had a good discussion. Look, I want to talk about why you're here today. I mean, it is not lost on us how divided we are as a country. And as you were coming
There's no way Laura Loomer's already on the birth certificate thing. Okay, yeah. See, this is how Trump does it, right? Somebody should look into that, and then some fucking creep in the dark room with a rifle and a keyboard, dribbling from the fucking sides, is saying, "Say no more, President Trump." What's she doing? Laura Loomer. Oh, she's also crying about the boxing match. Okay.
Fuck's sake.
Oh god, she tweets a lot. But she's a fucking professional. How is she spending this long on her Twitter account? Never black. I'm guessing she's called herself both at different times, and they just selectively clipped the points in the past where she said Indian and didn't clip the parts where she said black. Okay. It even says race of father Jamaican. What race do you think Jamaicans are? You would call them black.
Oh.
today, we really got to see that we are divided along the lines of race, along the lines of
Nice,
gender.
4 fingers, the full video. That's cool.
There is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems with it. But one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, a lot of the journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming from
Really?
the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has.
What the fuck? How is it that every single thing that Trump is saying is just the wrong thing? And now, I feel like Trump should have known that to some extent he was going to get gotcha questions. But Jesus Christ.
All right.
Oh.
How does he answer what is a black job? And he says, a black job is any job. He should have just said sorry. Well, actually, no, he shouldn't have said sorry. He's got no shame. He wouldn't have been able to say sorry. What would he have said? I guess, I don't know. I actually don't know what you say to that situation. Yeah, I don't know.
Black job is anybody that has a job.
I just wouldn't have said the black job
is
thing.
Anybody that has a job. Is that a Biden moment there, Mr. Trump? You having a Biden? You're getting a bit old there, Donald Trump.
Getting a bit old.
Listen, we need to we need to have a really long and serious and frank discussion about the age and mental state of Donald Trump, because he used to be a bit sharper than this. Okay, I'm just saying. And when I say have a long conversation, it can't be that long because he'll forget what was the first half of it if we go too long. I think what he means to say, what he means to say is that a black job, it's a job that's worked by a black person. Like, if they're taking jobs, statistically, it's likely that some of those jobs will be jobs that could have gone to black people. That's probably what he's saying, okay, as the Trump whisperer. But he fucked up.
Just kept fucking up here.
Okay.
And
Mr. President,
they're taking the employment away from black people. They're coming in, and they're coming in, they're invading. It's an invasion of millions of people, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's been seeing what's happened. The first group of people, the black population, is affected most by that. And Kamala is allowing it to happen. She's the border czar. She's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border czar like this. She's never even essentially been. She said she was there once, but not the right part of the border. So she was a border czar. She's done a horrible job. These people are coming into our country, and they're taking black jobs and Hispanic jobs, and frankly, they're taking union jobs. Unions are being very badly affected by all of the
As if Trump was ever been for a union.
And one thing, as we discussed, many of these people are coming in from mental institutions, from prisons, from jails. They're gang members in other countries. Other countries are setting loose their prisoners. They're opening up their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're taking their bad people, drug dealers, gang.
I don't know what he said. I don't think he knows what he said. Oh, is that a reference to Donald Trump in the Biden debate? Actually, that's actually true. That's this is actually.
Jobs. Unions are being very badly affected by all of the millions
Hey, what is
of people
Biden
that are
saying?
pouring into our
Not
country.
Biden,
And one
Trump.
thing, as we discussed, many of these people are coming in from mental institutions, from prisons, from jails. They're gang members in other countries. Other countries are setting loose their prisoners. They're opening up their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're taking their bad people, drug dealers, gang.
I don't know what he said. I don't think he knows what he said. Oh, is that a reference to Donald Trump in the Biden debate? Actually, that's actually true. That's this is actually sorry. I know I was being a bit more charitable to Trump about what he meant by a black job is what anyone who has a job. What he actually meant was this, wasn't it?
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look. Members, and they're bringing them into the United States. And by the way, their crime rate is going down, and our crime rate is going to be a disaster.
Mr. President, I want to get into how you address some of the.
Wait.
Members, and they're bringing them into the United States. And by the way, their crime rate is going down, and our crime rate is going to be a disaster.
Mr. President, I want to get into how you address some of the issues with black communities. And I say that plural because we live in communities of color that are different. We're not all the same. We don't vote the same. We don't think the same.
True.
It's not monolithic. So as you come here today, I want to talk about something that bursts. And this is the weight of the inflation on this country right now. The nonprofit Money Management International recently released data from its mid-year analysis that we have found a 52% rise in people who are seeking counseling for being in credit debt. They're paying for food that is sky high on their credit cards, and now they can't pay that off. The credit counseling nonprofit MMI, as I said, is saying now that they've seen surges that they haven't seen since we were in a pandemic of people in financial trouble. Much of that falls on the shoulders of single moms, single black moms, when you look statistically. Yeah. How do you turn it around? What's your plan for the black community when it comes to money?
So, first of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment, because I guess, this woman was unable to get the right equipment. But it's very
What
hard
the
to hear,
fuck?
but I can hear every other word.
He's so petty.
It's very difficult, actually. But so I don't know if they can fix it or do something with it, but I'll do
Is his hearing deteriorating maybe a little
That was
bit?
a normal question. He should have just answered normally.
Old man, maybe he needs to go to an audiology test. Is that what it is? Audiology? I should know because I've been to audiology. I've got tinnitus. It's audiology. Yes.
do the best I can with it. The
His ears don't work
inflation
so good?
is
Okay.
absolutely destroying our.
Why did he need to say that? He doesn't answer questions anyway. There's no point in him saying that. He can just say whatever the fuck he wants. So he's never going to answer her question directly anyway.
Middle class, our working class, virtually every class. Inflation is a disaster in our country. Inflation is a country buster. It breaks every country. And we had, in my opinion, the worst inflation we've had. They say it's 58 years, but I think it's much more than that. It's been devastating. And if you
It
just
has
take
to
a
be
look
more
at a
than
lot
that.
of things
It
they
always
don't
has to be
include, like
more.
interest rates. Interest rates went from 2.4% to 10%, and you can't get the money. People can't buy houses. They no longer have the American dream. Young people, young black people, they don't have the American dream anymore. They can't buy a house. They can't borrow the money.
I mean, I think
Wait, sorry. I don't know if I'm not. I don't know when it comes to the whole American dream thing. Do people actually still believe in the American dream? Like, as a concept, I don't even think people want it. Because generally, the American dream is about getting a house and getting a wife, and then getting some kids and all of that. But I don't think people can even get close to doing that kind of stuff right now.
it was the war in Ukraine, boss, and then it started to come down again. Or this is 2023. I think it's all the way back down now in America. The Inflation Reduction Act and such, and just circumstances changing. But okay.
Because of the cost of the money. They can't buy it because of the cost of housing, because of the cost to build it, because of inflation. Inflation is a disaster, and it's destroying our country, and it's destroying the black community probably as much or more.
So what do you do?
Than any.
What's your plan?
You know what we have to do? We have to bring down the cost of energy, and that's going to bring down the cost of inflation. This was all started with a bad energy policy by Joe Biden. By the way, just if I might, I was running against a man named Biden. You probably saw that. And he was losing very badly in the polls, and then he had a rather bad debate. I would say it was a bad debate. I would say it was one of the worst debates in history. And his poll numbers crashed. And instead of saying, you know, let's keep going, and maybe something happens the other way, they said, oh, we're going to replace him. Let's just replace him. That's like you're in a fight, a prize fighter's in a fight. He's not doing well. You say, let's bring in another fighter. So our whole campaign was steered toward him. And now we have to steer it to her. But ultimately, it's the same because they have bad policy. They have policies that.
Well, I mean, it's not about steering towards any particular person. That's the problem. Your whole policy was we're not this old person. That you're not as bad as the Democrats. We're not this old person with the Hunter Biden thing. That was your whole policy. And now that you can't do that, now you have to steer towards something else. That's the thing. Like with Keir Starmer, for example, their whole thing was to focus on policy and to say how bad the institution of the Conservatives was in general. It didn't matter if Rishi Sunak ran or not. They focused against the Conservatives and focused against their policy. And that's the problem. Biden, Trump has no policy. Trump has nothing. The only thing that Trump does is say, Biden old, I'm not as old, I'm not as bumbling, and that's my whole policy. And the other thing, like, he's not even running on Make America Great Again anymore. He is literally just running on that. I actually don't know what is the thing that makes people want to go for Trump so fucking bad. I just don't get it. He's a criminal, a bit of a loser. He is an insurrectionist. Or, well, he's not found guilty of insurrection, but he is basically an insurrectionist for everything else. He used the Supreme Court to make himself immune from those crimes. What makes people want to go for Trump so badly?
Open borders, unbelievable open borders, horrible energy policies. They want to get rid of, as you say, gasoline in cars. They want to get rid of oil. They want to get rid of efficient heating.
Mr. President.
Environmentally, what they're doing is killing our country. They're absolutely destroying our country. But the inflation is the thing that's hurting the black worker, the black population and every other population within our country. Inflation is the worst it's been, I think, in over 100 years. And they'll fact check it. They'll say it's only 58. Whatever it may be, they don't add all the numbers. They don't add the really bad numbers, and you can check that too. But inflation, Harris, is absolutely destroying this country and the people in our country. Yes,
Mr. President, can I ask you another question
Yes,
that is also impacting Black Americans?
And that's very clear now. Good.
I'm sorry?
It's very clear. I hear you.
Okay. So Sonia Massey, someone from Illinois, an unarmed black woman, was shot the other day in her home by a deputy sheriff. The deputy has since been charged with murder. You've said police would get immunity from prosecution if you win. Why should someone like that officer have immunity, in your opinion?
Immunity?
Immunity.
I don't know the exact case, but I saw something, and it didn't look good to me. It didn't look good to me.
1, 2, 3, 4,
right?
Yeah.
5, 6,
I mean, police
7,
unions are not backing
8,
this person
9,
either.
10,
Well, again,
11,
They're going to be charging the officer.
12,
I guess they're
12
charging
more
the officer.
frames.
So why should he receive?
And then we're done with this bit.
Well, he might not. I mean, it depends. It depends on what happens. I'm talking about people that are much different cases than that. We need people to protect ourselves. And by the way, in Chicago, as an example, a few weeks ago, July 4th weekend, they had 117 shootings and 17 deaths. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. We need to have our police officers have the respect and dignity back. In this particular case, I saw something that didn't look good to me. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
So
He's just like Keir Starmer.
get a little more specific back to the immunity question. Who would make those those?
Was he really workshopping calling her Inflation Harris, by the way? Where's the most recent graph for American inflation? Inflation, USA. Because they had the Inflation Reduction Act, the war in Ukraine, obviously the economy has gotten a bit more used to all that shit, especially dependency on Russian energy in places like Europe. Inflation Harris, is he really going to call her that? I mean, it's basically the worst of it's been dealt with. Still 3%, so he can. But I mean, if you want to counter that, I think like real wages are going to be basically up from now until the election, as far as recorded data goes. Real wages, not absolute. So it's easy one to counter, and I'm sure Kamala could remember that line. Yeah, Inflation Harris, inflatable Harris.
Right now, for the most part, people are protected by their unions, by their police unions, or by their police departments. But I'm saying if I felt, or if a group of people would feel that somebody was being unfairly prosecuted because the person did a good job maybe with crime, or made a mistake, an innocent mistake. There's a big difference between being a bad person and making an innocent mistake. But if somebody made an innocent mistake, I would want to help that person.
What would those exceptions be? What would determine an
innocent mistake? You go after
mistake?
somebody, and it's a very close call, and it's very dangerous. And they have the policeman's life and woman is a very difficult thing, because sometimes you have less than a second to make a life and death decision, and sometimes very bad decisions are made. They're not made from an evil standpoint, but they're made from the standpoint of they made a mistake.
So I want to follow up really quickly. I find it interesting because you do talk about reining in prosecutors, especially when it comes to prosecutors that are prosecuting you. Why doesn't that skepticism apply to law enforcement?
Well, I've been prosecuted because I'm a political opponent of two people that have weaponized
Gestapo. Call it the Gestapo. Let's go.
Our justice system. I've been prosecuted. I just won the big case in Florida. Everyone said that was the biggest case. That was the most difficult case. And I just won it. Now, Biden has a similar case, except much worse. I was protected under the Presidential Records Act. Biden wasn't, because he wasn't president at the time. And he had 50 years worth of documents. And they ruled that he was incompetent, and therefore he shouldn't stand trial. And I said, isn't that something? He's incompetent and he can't stand trial, and yet he can be president. Isn't that nice?
Mr. President,
but they released him on the basis that he was incompetent. They said he had no memory, and he was a nice old guy, but he had no memory, and therefore we're not going to prosecute him. I won the case, and it got very little publicity. I didn't notice ABC doing any publicity on it, George.
Wait. If we're talking about his criminal cases, we need to do some fact checking. For Biden, the documents that Biden had, the problem wasn't that he had them. The difference between Trump and Biden when it came to holding documents was that Trump obstructed, that Trump was told to give them back, and he didn't. And he told people, and it was recorded, that he was telling people who worked for him to move them around and leave them
I'll pick it back
in
up.
the building, even when there were like foreign people coming over and from different, like people from China and shit, looking around, snooping through them. God. Yeah, Pence gave them back as well. Like, I don't know why people don't mention this difference. Like, the obstruction part is what matters, but okay.
We cover you
George
extensively, sir. I'd love to move over onto
I
different
didn't notice
topics.
you do any publicity on it at all. I have another one where
Sir,
I
if
have
you
a
don't mind, I'd
hostile
love
judge.
to. We have you for a limited time, sir. I'd love to move on to different
No,
topics.
excuse me, you're the
He wants to ramble about his court cases.
one that held me up at 35 minutes, just so you understand.
Jesus
We can move
Christ.
on now to the state
Pissy. God. All
of the
right.
race,
He's just
sir.
such
I
a
wanna get
moany
back
little
to the
bitch.
campaign. Senator J.D. Vance is your running mate. He's had a lot of controversy lately, and I want to read you a few things that he has said in the past. He said the Democrats running the country are a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices they've made, and so they want to make the rest of.
Why is J.D. Vance the pick? Is
I
it,
know.
Is it so that he
It's
can
so
divert
bad.
attention from Trump? That's it, isn't it? That's all it
Maybe.
is. It's my theory, okay? And my theory is correct. He's there to absorb blows. J.D. Vance is like the totem who's there to absorb blows so that when Trump gets hit, J.D. Vance takes damage. He said he would help with the coup. I know he did. Fucker. Said he would do what Pence could not. Yeah. He would have, certified that he would have counted the fake votes, the fake electors, or he would have thrown it back to the states, or he would have said there's a dispute and sent it to the fucking House to vote. God.
Of the country miserable too. He's not talking here about how great it is to be a parent. He's attacking what he says are the choices people are making to not have children. Did you know that he had these views about people who do not have children before you picked him to be your running mate? And do you agree with him?
No, I know this. He is very family oriented, and he thinks family is a great thing. That doesn't mean he thinks that if you don't have a family, it's not. I know people with families. I know people with great families. I know people with very troubled families. And I also know people with no families. They didn't meet the right person. Things happen. You go through life, you don't meet the right person.
But he's not just talking
Excuse
about
me.
families here.
And
He also
some of
says that
those
people that
people-
don't have children should get less votes than
That's
those
all
that
right.
do.
I'm just speaking for myself.
that your
and I
campaign
think I'm
position?
speaking for him too. He strongly believes in family, but I know people with great families. I know people with not great families that don't have a family. And the people without the family are far better. They're superior in many cases, okay? He's not saying they're not. What he's saying is that he thinks the family experience is a very important thing. It's a very good thing. But that doesn't mean that if you grow up and you grow older and you don't meet somebody that would be wonderful to meet and would have been good, that that's a bad thing. He's not saying that. My interpretation, you'll have to ask him actually, but my interpretation is he's strongly family oriented, but that doesn't mean if you don't have a family, there's something wrong with it.
Just one last point and then we'll move on. Just one of the bedrock principles of American life is one person, one vote. Senator J.D. Vance has suggested that someone who has children should have more votes than a person who does not
this
have
is
children.
so bad.
I just want to be clear here. Is that the position of your campaign?
Well, no, but it's not something I have ever heard before. I can tell you this. Right now you have illegal aliens coming into our country, and many
Let's
from
go.
prisons and many from mental institutions.
I don't know what it is with this app at the moment. I mean, see, it's a free app.
Institutions, and they want to give them votes. I don't think they should have votes. They came into our country illegally,
People
and
who
they're
are only
taking the vote
American
away
citizens
from
are
all
allowed
of the
to vote,
people in
sir.
this room that have been here a long time.
I wonder if you asked what percentage of Republicans think illegal immigrants are voting in American elections, and then ask them how many are voting.
That have worked hard, that in many cases, and you'll see this happening, if I'm not elected, you're going to see it happening. If I am, you're not going to have any problem. But you're going to see it happening. a long time. You're going to see the people in this room and people outside of this room are going to be losing their jobs to people that have come into this country illegally.
Mr. President, can we stay with just kind of the state of the race right now? Because I felt like that vice president question, candidate question was right in there with that. So let's talk about J.D. Vance for a little bit. He's had some stumbles out of the gate. I don't know if you're hearing what we hear as reporters, but it's been a tough couple of weeks for him. Why did you choose J.D. Vance?
Why
did you choose him? And I'm having a hard time hearing, too. I know everybody out there can, but it's hard to hear.
I'll tell you why. I chose him because he's a very strong believer in work and the working man and woman, and especially the working man and woman who have been treated very unfairly, because you have many of them in this room. But you have many of those people, they were treated very unfairly. They worked very hard and they were treated unfairly. He wrote the book that became a bestseller. The movie became a smash hit. He's a very smart guy. Without the benefit of
This is
having
another
a family
movie
that
star
has
kind of
contacts,
person.
like a father that was
Fuck
well
me.
connected. He got into Yale Law School. He graduated in 2 years from Ohio State, summa cum laude. I mean, you take a look at, his career has been an amazing career. He started off at a level with a difficult family situation, very difficult with the mother and the father and everything else. He ends up going to Yale Law School and was one of the top students, became the head of the Law Journal. I mean, that's an amazing thing. He's a 4-year, he was in the military with great distinction for 4 years, got out, went into business, became successful in business, very successful in business, actually, did public offerings and other things. And I have to believe in that. I mean, he's somebody that was born in a rough situation. Most of the people know that situation because it was very well documented in his book. And I have a lot of respect for somebody that can get into Yale and become one of the best students in Yale, that meets a young woman at Yale who was also outstanding, and they get married, they have a beautiful family. But he had he's made himself an amazing life. He then goes to Ohio, lives in Ohio, and he had my endorsement. That helped. But he wins the Senate. He becomes a United States Senator. So he's a United States Senator. So Harris, like I respect you for your success, I respect people for their success.
The reason I asked the question is because the last time you and I sat and talked was the day that you were shot. We'd been together for much of that day. You left to go to Butler, Pennsylvania, and we didn't know what was next.
Yeah.
And 2 days after that...
I cannot understand. Your microphone
I know,
is so
it is really hard for me to understand you too.
I can understand you perfectly.
Because she's closer.
I can understand you.
Happy to hear that, sir.
But I can't
Really happy to hear
understand,
that.
Harris,
I have a few more questions.
because of the distance, and the mics are really in lousy shape, but I cannot understand.
So what I wanted to say was the last time we spoke, you said some words that were prophetic because I asked you who you wanted to choose for vice president.
Yeah.
And you said normally it really wouldn't matter what they would bring, you choose somebody that you think has a future, that sort of thing. But you said these words 3.5 hours before an attempted assassination on your life. You told me that bad things happen, Harris, and that's why this decision is important this time. Bad things happen. You said it twice. When you look at J.D. Vance, is he ready on day one?
Does he what?
Ready on day one, if he has to be.
I've always had great respect for him, and for the other candidates too. But I will say this, and I think this is well documented. Historically, the vice president, in terms of the election, does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact. You have 2 or 3 days where there's a lot of commotion as to who, like you're having it on the Democrat side, who it's going to be. And then that dies down, and it's all about the presidential pick. Virtually never has it mattered. Maybe Lyndon Johnson mattered for different reasons of what we're talking about, not for vote reasons, but for political reasons, other political reasons. But historically, the choice of a vice president makes no difference. You're voting for the president, and you can have a vice president who's outstanding in every way, and I think J.D. is. I think that all of them would have been. But you're not voting that way. You're voting for the president. You're voting for me. If you like me, I'm going to win. If you don't like me, I'm not going to win.
I'm going to get my J.D. Vance question in.
J.D. Vance?
I'm going to get my J.D. Vance question in. To your point and to Rachel's point, he, has a lot of opinions about childless women like myself or divorced people like yourself. Do you think? Well,
true.
I mean, my
But
point
at
is
least
here.
it was said in a friendly manner.
My point is, do you think the Republican Party is getting a little bit too judgy about people's lives when you think about abortion or when you think about what J.D. Vance is saying?
I don't think, look, I think that the Democrat Party is really the one that has the problem. I think they're radical on abortion because they're allowing abortion in the 9th month. They're allowing the death.
I think it's
they're
about
allowing
freedom,
the death.
right?
By the way, are they allowing abortion at the 9th month? And when we say, okay, when he says they're allowing abortion in the 9th month, are they basically just saying they're allowing abortion when the mother's life is threatened? Is that what they're saying? Because if that's the case, I'm surprised that he's against it. He would rather have the mother killed and the baby survived than the other way, where like the mother can live and the baby just dies. When it's unfortunate because at that point I would argue that it's a baby at the 9th month, and it's unfortunate if the baby has to die, but at the same time it's not fair that the mother has to die if it happens, I think most people, might be wrong, I think most people are in agreement that like when the baby's conscious, that's when we should consider whether or not it's free choice. I think most people that are pro-choice are for that solution. It's when the baby's conscious, or maybe some people would even go before that and say when the heart starts beating, which is I think around the 8-week mark. But yeah.
Of a baby after the baby is born, based on
Sir,
the
that's
governor.
Again, is he going to reference a law? Please reference a law. Again, the way that they do this is that they reference abortion protections that don't say things like you'd expect to say, like in a colloquial manner, that after viability, you would only allow abortion for situations that threaten the life of the mother, right? That's like the typical pro-choice protocol. But because some laws don't mention life of the mother, people assume that it means that you can just abort whenever the fuck, right? Now, the reason they don't include those words, life of the mother, is because if they do, in a country like America, you run the risk of doctors being sued by crazy fucking pro-life groups, because some abortion procedures that are to do with life of the mother are done before the actual life-threatening part of the condition has taken place. So you can have a certain a condition that basically the baby is not going to survive, or that the mother will be in danger, but you're 6 months down and the actual life-threatening event will happen at month 7 or 8, but they just do the abortion then because they know what's going to happen, right? And people can get sued for that, because that immediate threat to the life of the mother is a really dangerous language to have. So that's why when a lot of these abortion protections come in, like the one in Wisconsin, I think it was under Gretchen Whitmer, said health, physical or mental health of the mother. They leave a bit of leeway there. Now, obviously, I don't they're not going to. That doesn't mean that a mother is going to get to have an abortion at 8 months because she feels sad, right? Because she's got depression or whatever because of the pregnancy. No, it leaves enough room so that doctors can do their jobs without worrying about being sued the next day by some crazy fucking group. Yeah, Michigan, okay. Oh, yeah, I said Wisconsin, sorry. Yeah, Michigan.
Virginia, based on the governor of Virginia, they're allowing the death of the baby after it's born. They're allowing abortions in the 8th and 9th month.
Well, Democrats have denied.
I think they're right. And I think the Republican Party is actually much less. I think I've made them much less radical, perhaps, but the Republican Party, what we're doing is bringing it back to the states where everybody wanted it. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservative, everybody wanted abortion. Everybody.
But the majority
wanted it
of
back.
Americans oppose Roe v. Wade being overturned.
They
Multiple
don't know
polls have
about
showed
this.
that,
Right now, they're voting. It brought it back to the states. Now, I happen to believe in the 3 exceptions. Ronald Reagan believed with rape, incest, life of the mother. I do. I think most people do.
Oh, so he's anti-abortion for any stage then, unless it's rape, incest, and life of the mother. So he's an incoherent fucking retard. Okay, cool. Thanks for clarifying, Mr. Trump. Thank you. Again, if you're pro-life, that position is incoherent. Rape and incest. Why? You're punishing a child for the sins of their father.
I think most Republicans do also. But if you take
it's a really retarded crowd pleaser. The only reason someone who is pro-life, is against abortion apart from rape or incest, is just because they can't stomach their opinion and they want it to sound nicer. It's just completely optics driven. It's got nothing to do with any like moral or philosophical fucking justification. Yeah.
Look, right now they're doing, it's an amazing thing. Out of the federal government, it's in states, and people are voting. And I will say, Ohio is, let's call it a more liberal version, has been approved. Kansas, the same thing, a little bit surprising to a lot of people. But the people are now voting, and it's taking this issue that's been going on for 52 years and has torn our country apart, and it's giving it to the people to vote on. And they're voting. And many states have already voted. Others are in the process of voting. And it's bringing it back to the people and a vote of the people. And it's not at all radical. And again, you have to follow your heart. I happen to believe in the 3 exceptions. Most people believe in the 3 exceptions. Most Republicans believe in the exceptions. But they don't want to see an abortion in the 9th month or the 8th month. Almost
How long have we
everybody
been doing this
agrees to
for?
that.
I'm getting
And they
exhausted.
certainly don't want to see, in the case of the governor of
Okay, if we get to the
Virginia,
half an hour
former
mark,
governor, I might add,
and we still haven't
who said,
finished, then I'm just going to stop
we
there.
set the baby aside, and then we decide what to do. Meaning, what do? We execute the baby. That's a radical, horrible
Jesus.
position. And some people want that.
Execute, eh? There's a lot of connotations behind that word choice. God.
I don't want it. Most people don't.
Thank you. Can I just pivot really quickly to another question about, you brought up health, Harris. You're an active man. We see you golfing all the time. But if you win, you'll still be president at 82, which is older than Biden is right now.
But not mentally. Look, mentally.
Here's the question.
He's shot. He's shot. But most people.
Would you consider?
Most people. I know many people in their 80s and their 90s that are in great shape. Some of our greatest leaders. You look at throughout the world history, the greatest leaders, some of the greatest leaders in the world were in their
100
80s.
years old.
But here's the question. Would you consider stepping down if you felt that your health was declining? Or would you?
Oh, absolutely.
And who would make,
I think I'd know.
How would you make that decision?
I think I'd know. Look, if I came onto a stage like this and I got treated so rudely as this woman treated me.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm fine with it because she was very rude, sir. Very rude. That was that wasn't a question. She
Sir,
didn't
if
ask
you
me
can
a
answer the
question.
question.
She gave a statement. That wasn't a question.
I repeated
You
your
can answer the
statement, sir,
question.
actually.
You said you would. You would
Oh,
make that
absolutely.
decision
If I
to step
thought
down.
that I was failing in some way, I want people to be sharp. I'll go a step further. I want anybody running for president to take an aptitude test, to take a cognitive test. I think it's a great idea. And I took 2 of them and I aced them.
Well, can I just?
I took 2 of them. But let me ask you.
Yeah.
I aced
I
them.
would like to have people running for president, and I don't mean because they're 75 or 85.
Didn't
I think
Biden take a
anybody
test as
running, I'd
well
like to
and
do it.
pass?
People say it's not constitutional. I would like to have something.
I don't know if he's
there
taking
where
a
you can
test
do it.
now.
I think we should know. I mean, I've watched what's happened in the last couple of years under this gentleman, and our country is a mess. We have inflation. We have the millions of people falling in. We have Afghanistan, which was the worst, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. What he has done to our country, and her too, what they've done to our country, she has been a horrible vice president. She's considered the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Don't mean to interrupt you, but would you consider
By
taking
him.
a cognitive test?
Mr. President.
I would love to
And
do
make
it.
it public.
Well, I've already taken 2 of them, but I'll do it again.
Mr.
I
President,
suggested,
how do you intend to...
I suggested, Harris, that let's take one. I said, Joe and I will go and take a cognitive test. Now, I'd do it with her, too. I would do it with her also. You know what? She failed her law exam. She didn't pass her law exam, so maybe she wouldn't pass the cognitive test.
Mr. President,
Are you saying she wouldn't pass? Just to be clear,
I'm just giving you...
Isn't it that she failed like once or twice and then she passed afterwards? It's okay to fail a couple of times on these kind of things.
The fact
To be clear, you don't think Harris will have to
He's just making a fucking clown of himself. Okay.
She didn't pass her bar exam, and she didn't think she would pass it, and she didn't think she was going to ever pass it. And I don't know what happened. Maybe she passed it.
She did pass it.
There's a
She
man
did,
over there.
in fact, pass
he
it.
must work for
Mr.
her.
President, I would love to ask you about January 6th. You've called yourself the candidate of law and order.
Yeah.
When Time Magazine asked you if you would consider pardoning all the rioters, you said, yes, absolutely.
Sure.
You called them patriots. 140 police officers were assaulted that day. Their injuries included broken bones, at least one officer lost an eye, one had 2 cracked ribs, 2 smashed spinal discs, another had a stroke. Were the people who assaulted those 140 officers, including those I just mentioned, patriots who deserve pardons?
Well, let me bring it back to modern day. Like about 5 days ago, we had an attack.
Well, let me change the subject to something completely irrelevant to the January 6th riots. We ran a great election campaign. We got so many more votes than they said at the end. The worst fraud, the worst you've ever seen. Like you've never seen it before. Ballots.
On the Capitol, a horrible attack on the Capitol. You saw the people that were protesting and spraying these incredible monuments, bells, lions, all these magnificent limestone and granite with red paint, red spray paint that will never actually come off, especially on the limestone. It will never, I'm a builder, I know about this stuff. It'll never, you'll see it in 100 years from now.
But you're not a builder. What the fuck are you talking about?
Our government, they fought with police, they fought with them much more openly than I saw on January 6th. What's going to happen to those people? What's going to happen to the people in Portland that destroyed that city?
But, sir, my question is on those.
What's going to happen to
My
the
question
people
is
that
on
tried
those
to
rioters.
So let's just stick with the question that was being talked about.
Has he ever said a bad word about the January 6th attack? That would be a really good question. Wait, I know because obviously on the day he didn't really condemn them, did he? He just said, "Go home. We need to have peace. We love you. You're very special." Has he ever said a bad word about January 6th? About the protest? Has he ever said anything about them?
Would you pardon
What's
those
going to
people?
happen? Oh, absolutely, I would.
You would pardon those?
If they're innocent, I would pardon them.
They've been convicted.
And by the way, the Supreme Court just well, they were convicted by a very tough system. They were. How come the people?
So the system's biased against them.
Minneapolis. How come the people that took over a large percentage of Seattle? How come nothing happened to them?
They were arrested. They were found guilty. Yes. How many people were convicted for rioting BLM? I seem to remember seeing the number of arrests being up in the thousands, even quite early on. Is there actually a raw number for how many people were arrested for rioting in BLM? I seem to remember videos of protesters in Portland having people like grab them and put fucking bags over their heads and put them in cars, no? Chaz arrests. I think right at the beginning there were 23 people arrested. There were over 100 arrests for Chaz at the end. Okay. Let's see what the wiki says about arrests. 44, then 25. What's the total? 47. So what's that in total? Like a few hundred, like a hundred, couple hundred? He's such a liar, bro. He just gets he just does it all the time. But yeah, I feel like BLM was pretty dealt with by the law. There was a lot of weren't the BLM protesters who died, wasn't it mostly protesters who were killed by cops? Oh, this is the Capitol breach video. Oh yeah, the cop getting squeezed in the door. They're putting his fucking helmet on and shit, bro. It's a tour. It's a guided tour.
Second. Okay, got 10 more minutes. 10 more minutes.
This is when Trump's words on Twitter, when his call out on Twitter was "stay peaceful." He didn't say "go home" or anything. He just said "stay peaceful."
Yeah, stay peaceful.
They just let them in. They just let them in, bro. It's like fucking, it's like the Battle of Helm's Deep and shit with the Uruk-hai ramming the door. They just let them in.
How come the
But
people
sir, we're
that,
talking about
how
people
come
that
the
were
people-
seen
no, no,
beating
no. We're
officers
talking
with
about federal
flagpoles,
buildings.
dragging them down the stairs. They're on
They
video.
dra-
Have you seen that
Really?
video,
Oh,
sir?
really? Well, they
you would
shot-
pardon those? You would pardon those rioters?
They shot a young lady in the face
He's so
who
shameless.
was
Just keep.
protesting. They shot her in the face. You know, nobody died that day. You do know that. But people died in Seattle. Nobody died, but people died in
140
Minneapolis.
officers
Do you know
were
people died in
assaulted that
Minneapolis?
day.
And nothing happens, and nobody ever
He's
talks.
defending Ashley Babbitt. Is that what he's saying? She was shot for protesting.
And nothing happens to those people. But
No
you
one died. She was shot in the face.
went after the J6 people with a vengeance. And I'll tell you what about the cops that were, and I'm all for the police, as you know, but what about the police that are ushering everybody into the Capitol? Go in, go in.
I really just wish I could wipe my brain for a week and just get all my information from Truth Social or even just or OAN or Fox News or just follow a bunch of Twitter accounts like Tim Pool and fucking Jack Posobiec.
But damn it.
Like I just want to know what they know because I feel like they talk about how much they hate mainstream media and shit like that, but I don't think they watch any mainstream media. I think that's why they don't know a lot of this. Guided tour. 5 protesters died, including Ashley Babbitt. Well, in direct relation, I think directly attributable to the riot, I think it was just Ashley Babbitt. I think the other people, it was all like some kind of other outlying shit, or like someone had a fucking overdose or whatever. Yeah. But they've all seen a clip of, what's the guy's name? I always forget his name because I just don't care about the fucking story. What's his name? Ray Epps. They've all seen the video of Ray Epps the day before saying, we're going to go into the Capitol. And then fucking we saw it. Baked Alaska goes, no, no. And then the next day, he's live streaming himself inside the building. Fuck me, yeah.
Go in. What about that? Look, nothing is perfect in life. But you have people from Minneapolis. You have people just from 5 days ago in Washington, D.C. They were having fistfights and fighting with the police.
When was George Floyd killed? It was the summer of 2020, but by June, so this is still summer. When was he killed? It was June, wasn't it? Or May? Or April? No, it must have been May. May, yeah, end of May. So within a month, 14,000 people were arrested in the George Floyd protests. Look at this. Low-level offenses, violating curfews, blocking roadways. What is he talking about?
So little left.
We watched this happen.
1, 2, 3,
We watched people getting arrested.
4,
right, left, and
5,
center.
5 more drawings.
They were spraying and destroying. They
Come
were
on.
desecrating our monuments in Washington, D.C. 5 days ago, and
What time
nothing
is it?
happened to them.
Yeah, it's not
And
too
you
bad.
you can't have two systems.
I actually don't care about the half mark anymore. I'm just going to keep going now.
Because they felt they couldn't win without doing that.
How long are we along this? Oh, it's
We're gonna
almost
win our
finished.
cases and we're going to be vindicated, but I have to spend a lot of time on that and money. That's what they want.
That's
After
right, I
the
got a
election,
Destiny
they want
video
to
lined
go.
up.
In my case, I think they probably will because the hatred is pretty deep. But I'll tell you, they went after me as a political opponent. That's never happened in our country before, and it sets a terrible, terrible precedent.
Left, right, and center. Name one person on the right who was arrested for BLM. Wait, is that a troll, or do people not know what left, right, and center means outside of the UK? Left, right, and center just means like everywhere, all over the place.
What do you do on day one if you
That's a
win?
troll.
What's your first thing?
What do? I close the border. And I do two things, because I can do a lot of things simultaneously. I close the border. We don't want people coming in. We want people to come in, Harris, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked.
What?
They have
Why
to
does he
come in
say
legally.
things like that?
I want people to come into our
Like, just...
country. What do?
What do you do on day one if you
That's a
win?
troll.
What's your first thing?
What do you do on day one if you win?
I close the border. And
You close the border?
Because I can do a lot of things simultaneously. I close the border.
What's that mean? Why does he start with that? So, what would you do on day one if you become president? I would close the border. Just so you know, I'll do two things, as I can do loads of things simultaneously. Why does he have to qualify that fact? It's so weird.
We don't want people coming in. We want people to come in, Harris, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. They have to come in legally. We want people. I want people to come into our country, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. So when you say, what do? That and I drill, baby, drill. I bring energy way down. I bring interest rates down. I bring inflation way down so people can buy bacon again, so people can buy a ham sandwich again, so that people...
Is this fucking World War II? Like we're rationing bacon and shit?
Yeah, not at that point yet.
People can go to a restaurant and afford it, because right now people can't buy food. Your grocery bills are...
He's also lying about DC. I think he said a few days ago. Obviously, like arrests can take a bit longer than a few days, but even that protest he's talking about, 9 people were arrested. Yeah, he does this all the time. He is the most shameless, unapologetic, like lying cunt. Yeah, July 25th. Not even to mention the police raiding that fucking occupation and the protests at the universities for Palestine.
Are up 40, 50, 60%, right? She's agreeing to me. Oh, she's agreeing. Thank you. I like you very much.
Mr. President, I think we are.
She's agreeing with me. Oh, thank you. I like that person.
And then they're mandating that
Like
you
a
buy
child.
an all-electric car. You know, Elon Musk endorsed me, and he's a friend of mine. He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. But I'm against everybody.
Sorry, wait. I swear Trump has a comment where he said that Elon Musk would beg to me or some stupid shit like that. Honestly, I think the only reason he's friends with Elon right now is because Elon is giving him a fuck ton of money. I don't know why Elon's giving him so much money. I guess he must just agree with him politically. Which is insane. Elon Musk is say what you want about him, is a smart guy, so he must know that he's a complete fascist. So I think that just makes it more clear that Elon's a fascist. I don't know. Like, you can't be agreeing with this guy without either being ignorant on the facts or just a self-admitted right-wing person.
Having an electric
Like,
car.
far right-wing.
Okay, I'm very much against that. You have to be able to, if you want a hybrid or if you want a gasoline-propelled car. But, you know, we have more liquid gold, gasoline, oil, under our feet than any other country. More than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia, more than any other country. I want to use it. I want to use what we have. I want to bring down prices, bring down costs, and I also have to stop the invasion. And remember, they're taking your jobs. These people coming in...
He wants to frack, but he's not saying it. He's not using that word anyway.
Are taking your jobs.
Project 2025.
The question was January 6th, by the way.
Yeah. We completely moved away.
I think we have to leave it there by the Trump team.
All right.
So we'll leave it. That is the last word. Thank you so much, Mr. Trump, for coming today and joining us.
I thought it was the interviewers that cut it short. It was actually the Trump team. Brilliant.
Well, thank you very much.
They've been telling us.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, very much. Great
Thank you,
honor.
Mr. President.
Why did he do that? Why did he go to that? What a moron. He left 30 minutes early today. His team ended it early. They don't want him talking about January 6th. I love that, how they're talking about January 6th and he just kept on talking about BLM protesters or whatever, or pro-Palestine protesters who didn't get arrested, even though they did get arrested. He's doing Brat Summer. He is. Every day is Brat Summer.
I don't know if we're gonna get through all of this, but we got this stupid one to watch.
Do you agree that Donald Trump tried to coup the country?
No.
Do you agree that Donald Trump tried to get 7 sets of electors to falsely attest that they were the electors representing their state legislatures to send in fake electoral votes for the January 6th certification?
I don't know.
Okay, well, he did. He had been told multiple times. He'd been on calls with Raffensperger going over the Georgia videos. By the way, we know now because a year ago, Giuliani basically lost that court case because he said it was his First Amendment right to lie about it. That entire thing was is built on lies and fabricated videos from OAN. Everybody knows it. Everybody knew that mail-in ballots were going to heavily favor the Democrats. That's why Donald Trump and the rest of the Republican Party didn't spend a single breath on trying to say how we could make mail-in ballots safer before the election. That's why they just tried to get them all shut down. That's why the 63 court cases that Donald Trump's campaign launched didn't allege voter fraud, like people lie and say they did. They just attacked the states on processes and procedures. That's why there was leaked audio of Steve Bannon saying Trump is going to call the election on this night because he knows that if the count continues, that he's going to end up losing. And that's what he tried to do.
What Trump's going to do is just declare victory, right? He's going to declare victory. That doesn't mean he's the winner. He's just going to say he's the winner.
Do you think that the Earth is round or flat?
I don't believe this Earth's a spinning globe.
Yeah, so you're kind of like, yeah, you know, I'm not like a big Trump guy, but Kamala is so bad that I'd take Trump as a, you know, an alternative.
Yeah. Like in the question, who's better for America? It's a no-brainer.
If that has to be, you know, like if you're not, you know, as long as you can make the case that Trump is a good choice, even if it's in lieu of, you know, an alleged lack of choice on the other side.
No, yeah, my primary argument won't be like, oh, Kamala's bad. Like I can defend Trump. Like as in he's good. Comparably.
You know the funny? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Nah, you're good. You're good.
The funny thing is, it's so hard to find people that will come in and be like, yeah, I'm going to make the case for Trump. They just, and it sounds like you're willing to do that in part. Like you're willing to say like, hey, there's some good redeemable qualities or whatever. But yeah, a lot of times it's just really hard. A lot of people are just like, I don't know, don't ask me.
I think my primary criticisms for Trump, Destiny would think are good things. So in that sense, we just staunchly disagree on the situation, you know?
Yeah. I read you loud and clear. Let's do a quick sound test. Whitson, if you can do a quick 1, 2, 3 for me.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Wow, hello, what's up? Hello.
Excellent. Okay, cool.
Can you hear my baby crying?
Not at all.
Nice. We're good.
And yeah. All right, I'm going to start the stream. Should be good. And then we'll be off to the race. In 3, 2, 1, ready, set. Here I go. Hey, everybody. Today we're debating Harris versus Trump, and we are starting right now with Stephen's opening statement defending Harris. Thanks for being with us, Stephen. The floor is all yours.
Yeah, I think the choice between Trump and Harris is super obvious and super easy. I would imagine that as president, Harris is probably going to continue most of the policies that Biden did in his administration. Biden was very good getting bipartisan legislation passed. I think Biden had a much more
Sorry, before we carry on with this, let's like make sure. Yeah, okay, the video's up there. Oh, I just need some water, and then I'll be back. So give me a second, I'll be right back. Yo.
Cohesive, long-term goal and plan for.
I read you loud and clear. Let's do a quick sound test with.
What's up? Hello, hello.
Nice. We're good.
And yeah. All right, I'm gonna start the stream. Should be good, and then we'll be off to the races. In 3, 2, 1, ready, set. Here I go. Hey everybody! Today we're debating Harris versus Trump, and we are starting right now with Stephen's opening statement defending Harris. Thanks for being with us, Stephen. The floor is all yours.
Yeah, I think the choice between Trump and Harris is super obvious and super easy. I would imagine that as president, Harris is probably going to continue most of the policies that Biden did in his administration. Biden was very good getting bipartisan legislation passed. I think Biden.
I was just getting a nice scented candle going. Yeah.
In 3, 2, 1, ready, set. Here I go. Hey everybody! Today we're debating Harris versus Trump, and we are starting right now.
Harris versus
Stephen's
Trump,
opening
okay.
statement defending Harris. Thanks for being with us, Stephen. The floor is all yours.
Yeah, I think the choice between Trump and Harris is super obvious and super easy. I would imagine that as president, Harris is probably going to continue most of the policies that Biden did in his administration. Biden was very good getting bipartisan legislation passed. I think Biden had a much more cohesive long-term goal and plan for foreign policy than Donald Trump did. And I think that the
Quick, I don't even know. Am I still subbed to Modern Day Debates? He's one of the better YouTubers. I feel like I should probably subscribe. YouTube. This is for my other channel. Modern Day Debates. I'm still subscribed. Just don't know why I don't get his videos. Oh, he hasn't uploaded a video. He keeps doing live videos, but he doesn't do... The Modern Day Debates did a debate with Perspective Philosophy versus Matt Dillahunty, which is awesome. But why were they... Matt Dillahunty versus the Catholic on the Trinity? Why is Matt Dillahunty debating the Trinity? I don't know.
The rhetoric that comes out of the Democratic Party right now is tethered to reality and not unbelievably unhinged. It's not rebellious or treasonous like it is on the Trump side of things. I think that Trump pretty undeniably tried to coup the government, and that coup ran alongside a failed insurrection on January 6th. I think that there's almost no possible saving fact or thing that Trump could do that could save him from that reality. It's very hard to imagine unless maybe there was also somebody that tried to do a coup on the Democratic side that maybe I would have to compare two, rebellious candidates to each other. But it's a very, very, very simple question. Unless for some reason you would support, somebody who would try to circumvent rule of law in order to topple the government of the United States.
You got it. Thank you very much for that opening. We are. Let me just make a quick adjustment. I feel like my audio might not be coming through. 2 seconds. We are going to, folks. There it is. Okay. Thanks for your patience, folks. We're going to make it into the opening statement from Austin as well. But first, want to say, folks, thanks for being with us. Welcome to Modern Day Debate. I'm your host, James. Don't forget to check out our guests linked below in the description box. We appreciate them being here. Austin, thanks very much. The floor is all yours for your opening as well.
Yeah, thank you, man. So, yeah, I feel pretty much the exact opposite. The coup would actually be the fact that Kamala is even a candidate right now. I mean, she received no votes, so she ended with 3% in the presidential, primary anyway. But beyond that, the major factors, I look at it pretty simply. They're like basic things you have to do as a bare minimum to run a country. One of them would be secure your country. And the border is an absolute disaster. And Trump says very clearly and has said so with his actions as well that he will at least secure the border. The Biden campaign got in immediately. The administration stopped stop the deportation. She wants to give illegal immigrants tax-funded health care. She's for mandatory gun buybacks. So it says Congress shall make no law. And she says, oh, I will take executive action to take guns. So Trump's pro-Second Amendment, seemingly pro-First Amendment, and wants to secure our border. And then, of course, there's many other variables, but on a very basic level.
The 3% of the vote thing, what does that mean? Is that like from her last election thing? Because has any election gone out for this part yet? I swear pretty much everyone is just behind Kamala. And by the way, it's a private party, right? The people who vote on the Kamala Harris's primary is the members of the party, right? It isn't up to the people. I'm pretty sure it's not like a democratic vote of the people, because it's a private organization. In the same way that in the Conservative Party, people who are members get to vote, or Labour Party, the members get to vote, but you don't get the vote directly. That's not how it works. Structure of the Republican Party right now, when they put Trump in charge, someone who is a convicted criminal now, and doesn't really represent any of the views of a typical Republican. There's some views there, there's some semblance of a Republican view, but he doesn't really respect Christian values or anything like that.
It's not even really a question. Of course, also the economy with inflation being insane, and then Kamala, whatever, asks about inflation. She just starts stuttering, incoherently avoiding the question. She hasn't even articulated policy. I don't even know how you could defend that she would be good. She hasn't even said what her policies or stances are, and she's walking them all back. So that's basically how I feel. Trump says he'll put America first, brought domestic manufacturing back, stands for the Second Amendment, defends our border, all basic requirements of running a country. So
thanks very much for that opening as well. We'll kick it into the open dialogue. Folks, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, as we have many more debates coming up in the future. You don't want to miss them. With that, thanks very much. Gentlemen, the floor is all yours for open dialogue.
Sure. Do you agree that Donald Trump tried to coup the country?
No.
Do you agree that Donald Trump tried to get 7 sets of electors to falsely attest that they were the electors representing their state legislatures to send in fake electoral votes for the January 6th certification?
I don't know.
Okay, well, he did. It's not contested. When he was saying we need Pence to do the right thing on January 6th before he sent the riot in the direction of the Capitol building, do you know what he was telling Pence to do?
He actually said to peacefully protest. And I've heard you discuss it. You know that he said that. So, but like, as opposed to the speculation about how he indirectly had something to do with January 6th, when he's publicly on the record disavowed the actions of January 6th, right? And he said to peacefully protest. Like, the arguments should be about what's going to happen. What are the promises? And I just named some pretty basic things I think are significantly more important than speculatively divining the true intentions of Trump. regarding January 6th, you know?
Sure. So in the weeks leading up to it, when over 20 times Donald Trump retweeted or tweeted things that included the hashtag Stop the Steal, when he was saying things like "Be there, it will be wild," when he's saying things like "The cavalry is coming," "There's a big protest rally in D.C., we are going to hashtag Stop the Steal," "We've got 11 other senators to delay the certification or not certify the election." What do you think he's talking about there?
Protesting.
Why would you need 11 senators to help you protest?
More of a substantial voice and representation to bring attention to it. You're insinuating he wanted the senators to break in?
No, I'm not. Hold on. I'm not insinuating. I'm just telling you openly what he was saying. So he's talking about Cruz, Johnson, Langford, Daines, Kennedy, Blackburn, Braun, Loomis, Marshall, Haggerty, and Tuberville, who all joined Hawley, who were 12 GOP senators that said they'd be voting against the certification of the vote for Biden in the Electoral College on January 6th. He wanted the senators to not certify the election. He wanted Pence to declare Trump the winner, and he wanted the protests to hold Pence and the senators accountable. And that's why he sent them to the Capitol to go and riot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, like, he thought it was stolen, and I know that you disagree with that, but that's not really the point. Anyone that can tie their shoes would have reasonably suspected that something sketchy happened when the first time in like seemingly American history, we have the counts pause in the middle of the night with Trump clearly heading towards a substantial victory. And we wake up and come to the TV in the morning and the blue line shoots straight up. Anyone reasonably, whether you think it was stolen or not, would be like, this is sketchy. This doesn't really add up. And so that's reasonable for him to think it was stolen, certainly with a bunch of
fucking app crashed. Let's look at the storage. How do we sort out the storage? Procreate Dreams has 53 gigabytes full? Delete Logic Pro. Delete Affinity Photo. How is it so much? Oh, actually, I do have these backups as well. I'm going to delete the backups. Oh, I need to be safe. Okay. I've got Relaxing Day 1. This is the good one. What about this one? Okay, I'm going to delete Relaxing Day. Delete both of the backups. Apparently you can copy it to the iCloud drive. How big is this? Can I see how big of a file this is? References, help, share. It is a 4K video, and I'm essentially drawing a 4K image each frame. So it was going to be huge. I'm gonna, I don't know if I want to duplicate it or not. Copy it to iCloud Drive if I can. Duplicate it. Let's see. How much storage now? Okay, not as much now. Now I've got 20 gigabytes free again. Fuck me. Right. Let's go. Mirror again. Sorry, I had to stop the recording. I've only got one. We're lagging.
The other evidence. He didn't call for violence. He didn't call for people to go in there.
Yeah, if you thought that the election was stolen, then what would you do?
That's a good question. What do you do?
You're trying to coup the government. That's what you're saying. If you think the election was stolen from you, and you think you've got proof that it was stolen, but the courts, your DOJ, Congress, and everybody's betraying you, then you would try to steal the election back. That's a coup. You're justifying a coup right now.
No. Wait. Let me ask you: if an election actually was stolen, what would you do?
An insurrection.
So you're saying you would actually call for an insurrection.
If you think that an election is actually being stolen by the government, yeah. How do you think America came about? It was a rebellion. It was an insurrection into a rebellion against the British. Yeah.
So you would have actually been more aggressive and seemingly violent, since you just brought up America's origin, than Trump was. There is substantial evidence, certainly at the time, that was unanswered, that would imply that the election wasn't completely on the up and up, right? Just the fact that it randomly changed directions overnight. So I think you just refuted your own argument. You're saying Trump was actually somewhat like passive.
No, I didn't refute my own argument at all, and Trump wasn't passive. That speech that he gave that day was about an hour and a half. One time during that speech, he said that I know you guys will be marching peacefully. The entire rest of the speech, he recounted false instances of voter fraud that had been unproved or disproved over and over and over again by his own administration, by people in other states, by people in his campaign, by people in the media.
Not at that time, though. Right?
Yes, it had been.
Yep,
it had been. He had been told multiple times. He'd been on calls with Raffensperger, going over the Georgia videos. By the way,
One
we know
last
now,
frame.
because a year ago, Giuliani basically lost that court case because he said it was his First Amendment right to lie about it. That entire thing was built on lies and fabricated videos from OAN. Everybody knows it. Trump knew it at the time. He'd already had calls with Raffensperger about it. In that speech, over and over and over again, he's saying Mike Pence needs to step up and do the right thing. He's saying that the election is being stolen from us. Quote, all of us here today do not want to see our election victory stolen by emboldened radical left Democrats, which is what they're doing, and stolen by the fake news media. That's what they've done and what they're doing. We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved. What's going to happen?
Jesus,
if you go
that
to
recording is terrible
You
right
just agree
now.
with that sentiment.
Yeah, but there was no theft.
You're just saying he
But
was.
hold on,
okay,
I'm justifying. I'm justifying an insurrection. Yeah, he was wrong in doing the insurrection. I agree. Yes.
No, you're saying he was wrong, thinking it was stolen, right? I mean, and there are many things about this, right? Like who all was voting. Like you seemed. I know you're definitely going to claim it's all for sure been proven that there was nothing sketchy, but to this day, they're still trying to get illegals to be counted as voting and all that. Well, basically, to summarize this, we're going to agree, disagree. I think that he could have maybe, in retrospect, watched his words a bit more. You're literally just saying he implied that people should do some type of forcible
He didn't imply.
insurrection.
He knew it was going to happen. The quote, like you can listen to the speech. We will
You're
not let them
defining his
silence
thought.
their voices. We're not going to let it happen. I'm not going to let it happen. The audience begins chanting, "Fight for Trump! Fight for Trump!" He says, "Thank you." Like, what do you?
Hey, you're divining his thoughts. Like there are many different things that you could do, right? Try to get it heard by the Supreme Court, et cetera, et cetera.
He
But
did. It was shot down.
I know that's funny because I'm sure you'd be the same person to turn around and talk about how corrupt the Supreme Court is and how they're
That
so
has nothing to do with what we
conservative and
just
how they're
said.
so pro-Trump.
I
No,
do think that the
I'm
Supreme
just-
Court has made mistakes, but that doesn't mean that I think that you should rebel against the country. There are things that people in government do, and even justices on the Supreme Court do. I don't think that means you have to do an insurrection or rebellion.
Okay, so we disagree on this, right? I don't think he called for violence. He objectively didn't. You're divining his thoughts. You said, quote unquote, he knows what he was doing. That's what you think. So your main argument as to why Trump, like Kamala, is better than Trump is that Trump supposedly tried to cause an insurrection. So
Yeah.
do you have anything else? We can agree to disagree on that. I don't agree. I think that the election was sketchy. Right. I think anyone being honest would say, yeah, it was sketchy at the time. And I know that when you first saw it, you thought it was sketchy because it was clearly headed in one direction and then overnight it changed.
Everybody
So
knew. You know that everybody knew that was going to happen, right?
everyone knew that the blue line was going to shoot straight up when for the
Yes.
first time in history.
Everybody knew that mail-in ballots were going to heavily favor
Oh,
the
fuck,
Democrats.
I was
That's why
trying to
Donald
beat-
Trump and the rest of the Republican Party.
Shut up,
didn't
shut up,
find
shut
a
up, shut up,
seat.
shut up. Sorry, I was really wanted to beat him to it. But yeah, the mail-in ballots were obviously going to be the come along after the fact. The original... Fuck me. damn it. I just want to finish off this drawing. I don't know why the connection has suddenly gone so much more patchy in the last hour or so. Still running, we're still streaming. Okay. Originally, the big thing that happened during the 2020 election doing anything like that, and this was during the time of COVID, where people would struggle a lot more to vote in person. So mail-in ballots were essential. Anyone who would have done a mail-in ballot, of course, it was going to be much more biased towards Biden because people didn't trust mail-in ballots. And also, Trump kept saying that this election was going to get rigged and that it was going to get screwed against me and all of that stuff. If you're going to say stuff like that, then people are going to start thinking, well, what's the point of voting? If I vote, then it's going to go biased towards Biden. You know, it's going to be rigged. If your whole election is based on the fact that you're going to lose because the other side is cheating, then guess what? That's going to happen. The big blue wave that came along after the fact was because all of those mail-in ballots needed to be counted and they needed to wait for them to get delivered through. So yeah, of course, it was going to get put more towards blue as the election went on. That's how mail-in. That's what happens when you have lots and lots of mail-in ballots.
Single breath on trying to say how we could make mail-in ballots safer before the election. That's why they just tried to get them all shut down. That's why the 63 court cases that Donald Trump's campaign launched didn't allege voter fraud, like people lie and say they did. They just attacked the states on processes and procedures. It's because they knew that the mail-in ballots were always going to favor Democrats because Republicans didn't care about showing up and voting in person, and Democrats were more likely to vote via mail-in ballots. His own campaign manager and Bernie Sanders, like even on the news the day before, was saying, yeah, at night we expect the vote counts to change. That's why there was leaked audio of Steve Bannon saying Trump is going to call the election on this night because he knows that if the count continues, that he's going to end up losing. And that's what he tried to do. He went in front of the cameras on the election night and he said, let's stop the count. It's over. We're glad we won. But Pence disagreed and he came out. Yeah.
Cool. But this debate's not about that. So your argument is that Trump lost the 2020 election. He's a sore loser and that he thought it was stolen.
No, that's not my argument. My argument is he tried to coup the country and he used an insurrection to further that coup attempt.
That's what you're saying, and your primary staple of that argument is that he knew what he was doing and that you know that he would actually implied and he knew that people would go violently try to take over the government without direct consent.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Agree to disagree. You're literally having to speculate and divine his thoughts. But what I said in my open...
sorry, just to make sure that we know, what we know for sure is that there was fake electoral... I forgot what they're called. There's certain types of certificates that are designed for the electors, right? So when you do a vote, I might have get this wrong, so please excuse me if I do, but how the American system works is that each state has a certain set of electors that are basically based on... It might actually just be... I don't think it's written in the Constitution, but I think it's based on population, maybe. Regardless, there's I think it's like each one gets at least 2 electors, and then you get an extra elector based on how much of the population you have. So I think Texas has a lot more electoral electors than, I don't know, somewhere like Washington DC, right? Washington DC gets 2 electoral ballots because that's your right as a state. But Texas has more people, so they get more electors. And essentially, in a bunch of states, I think like Michigan might have been one of them. I'm trying to think. It's basically 7 swing states that are around America. A bunch of those swing states, they try to plant fake electoral certificates, and the plan was that Mike Pence should read those fake electoral ballots instead of reading the real ones. And the idea was that they could use the I don't even think he necessarily had to read the fake ones and count the fake ones. I think he just had to say, I don't know which one of these electoral ballots is the real one. This is going to go now to, it might be either the Senate or Congress. I'm not too sure who it goes to. But essentially, when they would say that whoever voted that state, so in the case of this, it might be Congress. So in the case of this, the Republicans had the majority of that state. So of course, when they vote, they were going to vote for their people, which is understandable. But the whole problem is the fact that Trump got people like Rudy Giuliani to essentially make an organized attempt to fake an election. Like that's literally what they did. And it's not like it's disputed, but what is the issue is that I think with all of that happening, I don't think that he has to, I might be wrong, but I don't think that he's going to be prosecuted for any of that stuff because it counts as an official act now by the president. If that's not the case, then it might be this all happened and that he will go to court for it. It's going to happen after he's made, if he became president, it would be made after he's made president, and he could find a way to get himself pardoned from that after the fact, which is insane. I don't know how you can pardon yourself, but I wouldn't put it past Trump. That's what I'm going to say.
Is much more pertinent to the question, which is Kamala or Trump better for America? And like, let's just start there. First of all, do you think that illegal immigrants should be able to vote in this upcoming election?
No, I guess not. But like the Republicans don't even believe in the results of the last election, so we can't even begin to talk about the election until we agree that the last one even happened and was real. So if we think that if Donald Trump, I'm not deflecting, we can't talk about 2024 until we acknowledge that Republicans don't even think 2020 was real. So when you ask me questions about whether or not illegals have voted, I don't care. I don't know. They don't even believe the last election results. Why would I think they would believe the next one?
Hasty generalization fallacy, right? Most Republicans now feel content that it wasn't specifically stolen because it supposedly went through the legal proper procedure of checking it, and we literally are actually debating 2024. And so when you said that illegal immigrants shouldn't vote, that you're disavowing the stance of the position of the side that you're defending, while they're actively trying to make sure that they get IDs or the ability to vote as illegal immigrants. And you agree that would effectively steal an election when you could get up to maybe 20 million votes that shouldn't be counted. So you are against that, for the record. And so doing, and that you know that he would actually implied, and he knew that people would go violently try to take over the government without directly saying it.
Correct.
That's cool, man. Agree to disagree. You're literally having to speculate and divine his thoughts. But what I said in my opener is much more pertinent to the question, which is Kamala or Trump better for America? And like, let's just start there. First of all, do you think that illegal immigrants should be able to vote in this upcoming election?
No, I guess not. But like the Republicans don't even believe in the results of the last election, so we can't even begin to talk about the election until we agree that the last one even happened and was real. So if we think that if Donald Trump, I'm not deflecting, we can't talk about 2024 until we acknowledge that Republicans don't even think 2020 was real. So when you ask me questions about whether or not illegals have voted, I don't care. I don't know. They don't even believe the last election results. Why would I think they would believe the next one?
Hasty generalization fallacy, right? Most Republicans now feel content that it wasn't specifically stolen because it supposedly went through the legal proper procedure of checking it, and we literally are actually debating 2024. And so when you said that illegal immigrants shouldn't vote, that you're disavowing the stance of the position of the side that you're defending, while they're actively trying to make sure that they get IDs or the ability to vote as illegal immigrants. And you agree that would effectively steal an election when you could get up to maybe 20 million votes that shouldn't be counted. So you are against that, for the record.
So as of August 3rd, 2023, 70% of Republicans felt like the last election was stolen. So whatever you just said, I don't know what kind of fallacy you want to call it. We can call it the fallacy of just telling straight up lies, but you have no source for that the majority of Republicans believe the last election was legitimate, because it's not true. They don't. They think it was still stolen. If 20 million illegals were to vote, I don't think any illegal immigrant should vote in a federal election. I'm pretty sure that Congress prohibits that explicitly. However, I'm more worried about the president that's actually trying to steal the election during the electoral certification than I am about random people on Twitter saying that illegal immigrants should be able to vote.
He didn't see. The truth is, there are a million things that with executive power prior to leaving office he could have done to actually do an insurrection. He literally had power of the military. He did not call for any of that. He did not use any of his executive power. You're saying he could have chose his words better. He literally put out a tweet saying,
I think the fact is that if he started using those kind of powers, then he would have got way more screwed. Like, he would have been caught a lot more red-handed. He probably did. I don't know if he was wise himself. I don't know if it was him or if it was Giuliani or what, but he's allowed enough room to allow for a bit of speculation on whether or not it was true or not. Right? He's left himself an out. If he started calling in the military and all of that stuff, he maybe would have got what he wanted, but he would have got screwed in other cases, right? Like, for example, the king could technically take over the UK tomorrow, right? They could dissolve parliament and say, "Yep, we're going back to monarchy." But you although you have that power, you don't really have that power. You technically have that power, in the sense that you have the right to do that as a king, but you would get screwed over the moment that you didn't use that power. The moment you use that power, the parliament would probably say, okay, we're just going to use the army to stop you, and the army would probably side with democracy, because at the end of the day, yeah, a lot of people defend the king. There might be a civil war all about it, but at the end of the day, people are going to probably defend the democracy rather than someone who was corrupt enough to use the monarch powers to actually take over the country. And a similar thing for Trump. If Trump actually used those powers, people would be like, wait, this guy's acting like an absolute fascist right now. Although maybe I'm wrong, because right now it still seems quite obvious to me that he's a fascist, and yet people are defending him. So I don't know, maybe you're right.
Be peaceful, and reminded them. The tweet allegedly ended up getting deleted. And he, in all of his speeches, he specifically says to remain peaceful, and we are the side of law and order. But regardless of that, this isn't a January 6th debate. The question is, who's better for America? If your only argument is that you think Trump was a sore loser, or that he basically guided people into an insurrection, right, and didn't accept the result, you're calling it a coup, whatever. So basically you're saying you would let America completely collapse and fall apart because you think that Trump didn't take the results of the election the right way. That's your argument?
It's because Donald Trump tried to lead an insurrection and coup into a full-on rebellion in the country. That would be why. If we're going to talk about like election fraud, or if we're going to talk about the integrity of the election, we're going to talk about somebody who refused the election results and who tried to commit fraud at the highest level by having people falsely claim that they were the duly appointed electors in their state, and to try to pressure his vice president, as he did over 6 times in that speech that he gave on January 6th, into choosing him as the president unilaterally. That was the entire point of saying Pence wanted to do. I understand. Yes, you're giving the justification for why he thought he could do an insurrection/coup.
You gave that justification.
No, when you say he thought it was stolen, that's, yes, he agrees it was stolen. That's why he wanted Vice President Pence to choose him as the president. And when you talk about how he could have used his executive power, yeah, but it wasn't stolen. It wasn't stolen, though. And Trump knew it wasn't stolen. That's the thing. Because Trump repeated lies. That's not an opinion. Trump, we can ascertain states of mind all the time. It happens in criminal court. What do you think mens rea is? How do you think we convict on any criminal crime ever? You do it by ascertaining a person's state of mind.
That's right. You establish intent.
Exactly.
And you think that you've established intent because he had a conversation with some people, and you think that by that time he had already seen the footage and should have known. I disagree. I think he still to this day thinks it was sketchy. He thinks that the whole system's against him. Whether or not that's true or not, whether or not these courts are shutting it down and stifling it, whether or not the Supreme Court was righteous and are justified in not seeing it, who knows? That's a whole different debate, right? But the point is, you're claiming Trump knew that he lost and he was a sore loser and he wanted to overthrow the government. I disagree. I think he believed that the election wasn't legitimate under your own admission. If that is the case, if he truly believed there was something sketchy going on with the election, he was justified.
I
in
honestly
everything
think
he
this
did.
looks
He said you
really
would have done
cool.
more. He said you would have been
I
more
wish I could
aggressive.
get it
You
in
would
colour,
absolutely call
though.
for insurrection. He never directly did that.
Maybe I
But
still
would like
can.
to talk about the fact that regardless of what happened in the past, our country is about to have an election, right? We have massive illegal immigration. It's a major problem. And we have a side who says they want mass amnesty and citizenship. We have a side pushing for them to be able to vote. And we have a side that immediately halted deportation of illegal immigrants. That is a major problem. Look at what's happening in Europe. It's literally the fastest way to destroy a country throughout all of history. That's way more pertinent than the fact that you think Trump was a sore loser or that you think that Trump knew it wasn't stolen. Don't you
So
agree?
I never
that's
said
more
that Trump was a sore
relevant?
loser. That Trump, like, it is known that Trump knew that the election wasn't stolen. He was told by every single person in his administration. It's the reason why Barr resigned, by the way. You mentioned, well, he would have used his executive power. He tried to. He tried to get Barr to send out fake letters attesting to election fraud, even though there was no evidence of election fraud. When Barr left, he tried to bully his next DOJ Attorney General and Deputy Attorney General, Rosen O'Donoghue, into also sending out fake letters. And when that didn't work, he was going to fire them and make Clark, who was like the head of the environmental division of the DOJ, he was going to make that guy the Attorney General because Clark said he'd do it until half his DOJ threatened to quit if he would have done it. So Donald Trump did try to use his executive power.
No,
when you talk
no,
about
no. He
calling for
could've
the
used the
military, he
National
also,
Guard.
you know, when people's, yeah, he did try to use the National Guard. He mentioned offhandedly in a
didn't.
conversation to Milley, yeah, he did. This is what all the Republicans say when they say Trump did ask for the National Guard. He said, maybe we need 10,000 people there to protect my people. But since he's an idiot and he doesn't know how the process of government works and he doesn't know how to put an official request for anything, that was just brought up in a conversation and then it was dropped. Trump initially wanted to tag along with his, I know it sucks, but like when you have a guy that's
All
trying to overthrow the
speculation.
government, it's not, none of this is what did I just say that was speculation?
You said that he would have for sure done it, but he couldn't because he's so incompetent and doesn't know how things work. You just made that up. It's literally the definition of speculation. But beyond that, the quote you said was to protect his people. My point is that he literally had the power of the military. So if you're talking about like he actually tried to overthrow the government coup, you're talking about some like third world communist regime, you would use the military to forcibly stay in office. He did nothing anywhere close to that. He didn't even tell people to go in there. He disavowed it. He's disavowed it since. So that this is, but my point is like,
just to be
okay,
clear,
we
that
agree,
I'm not
disagree.
just
If
I'm not
that's
just
your
making
only
that
point,
up.
then you're just
Yeah, the
basically
quote is
tapping out if that's your only point.
the president's advisors tried to talk him out of it. White House senior advisor Max Miller shut it down immediately because of concerns about the president's safety. Pearson agreed, but President Trump was persistent and he floated the idea of having 10,000 National Guardsmen deployed to protect him and his supporters from any supposed threats by left-wing counter-protesters. Miller
To
again rejected the
protect
president.
them.
Yeah, correct. Yes, there's
It's
insurrectionists.
not the same as using it. You understand that you could use the military to like not let them take you out of office. But are you afraid of the illegal immigration question?
Not as afraid as I am of insurrectionists marching onto Capitol Hill to try to stop the certification of the vote against a president that was trying to remain entrenched in power by falsely attesting that people had voted for him in states when they didn't, by falsely attesting to voter fraud having occurred that he knows didn't occur, and by doing everything he can to hold on to power and destroy the country. Yeah, I'm more concerned
I
about
think
that.
you're afraid. Like luckily, we found out that our system's set up in such a way that even if the president thinks that it's actually stolen, whatever the results are, that's what happens. So cool. The biggest threat has seemingly already been nullified, and we've seen that your biggest argument, the biggest threat supposedly that Trump is, doesn't actually do anything. Good thing we live in America where we have checks and balances and all kinds of systems, and actually you're exaggerating via her hyperbole and divining of his intentions and thoughts anyway. So let's go back to 2024 is an election. We have Kamala. You want to talk about a coup? She didn't receive any votes. She did. It was abysmal. She ended with 3%. So she wasn't chosen by anybody. She didn't
Wait,
get
what
any
is
votes.
this?
Talk about a coup. Pretend that Biden's in good standing and she's defended his mental capacity this entire time. And then conveniently he drops out and she's the president.
There's no way
You
that
talk about a coup?
he
That's literally
said that talking point. He found that talking point somewhere. Kamala gets 3%. And New York. Let's see. NC. What's NC? Oh, no. Kamala Harris? No. It's with COVID, touching on topics. Yeah. Oh, North Carolina. Sorry, what? North Carolina gets 3% of the vote when picking a Democratic presidential nominee. Okay. I don't know what this talking point is that he's found. Kamala leads in poll. Kamala says leading Trump, yeah. I don't know what this 3% thing is all about. Yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, I need
Really,
to.
like that's not a representation. Votes talk about a coup. Pretend that Biden's in good standing and she's defended his mental capacity this entire time, and then conveniently he drops out and she's the president. No one voted. Talk about a coup. That's literally an like that's not a representation of any people. Like, who chose her?
Yeah,
No
so
one chose
when
her.
we talk about like coup, Kamala Harris and Biden have followed the DNC process exactly. There is no coup here. It
Yep.
doesn't even make sense to call it a coup, considering that the DNC is not the government. It's a private political party, and they're allowed
Yep.
to run their primary process as they see fit. If Americans don't want to vote for Kamala come general election time, they have every right to do that. But no coup has occurred. The DNC is not the government. When you talk about securing the border, I do think that securing the border and shoring up things like the asylum-seeking process are really important. That's why the Democrats and Biden tried to pass a bill. Langford, the Republican bill from the Senate, tried to pass a bill shoring up border security. Donald Trump shot it down publicly because he wanted to keep the border open and keep
Yep.
America unsafe and keep
Yeah.
illegal immigrants pouring in so that he would have something to run on when the election rolled around. If Trump wanted to fix the border or secure the border, why didn't he do it with the 4 years that he was in office? In 4 years, he
that
built
bill was
50
passed
miles
with
of
other
wall,
stuff
and he wasn't
and
able.
died.
He wasn't. No, it was brought up solo, but Republicans shot it down. Ted Cruz and other Republicans are publicly speaking about this. McConnell's talking. None of this is a surprise. None of this is a conspiracy. None of this is a secret. Donald Trump shot it down because he wanted to keep the border open and he wanted to keep illegal immigrants flowing into the country so that he would have an issue to run on when the 2024 election came around. So if you're for border security, I don't know why I would vote for the guy that had 4 years to fix the border, got zero legislation passed, sent the military down with executive order, by the way, and built 50 miles of border wall without getting any of the money from Mexico that he asked for. So on both of those issues, Donald Trump would be an absolute failure. And then once more, going back to the security of the vote, none of the stuff that I've alleged, by the way, about Donald Trump trying to overthrow the election, none of that is false. That's why when Donald Trump went to the Supreme Court, he wasn't arguing that he had the right to do that. He was arguing for criminal immunity. That's why when Rudy Giuliani has shown up in court cases, he said, I lied, but it's my First Amendment right to lie. And and the idea that checks and balances work, it wasn't checks and balances. It was individual people. It was bureaucrats. It was people like Mike Pence. That's why Donald Trump has chosen a vice president now, J.D.
Right.
Vance, who says that if Donald Trump tried the same thing, he would go along with the plot next time.
So drawing these ones are going to be very, very easy compared to these guitar ones, and I think we're going to do these tomorrow. As soon as we have those, finished, that's it. That's the end of the recording. And at that point, what we'll do, we do need to re-go over some of the scenes because some of them are very static looking, and I think I'm just going to redraw over them. Do some examples like this teapot one is very static. I would rather just redraw all these ones. Same with this teapot one. This one's fine. This one's not. This one's static as fuck. This one's fine. That one's fine. This one would need to be redrawn, I think. Let's actually see. This one will probably need to be redrawn. I am. Oh, there's a frame missing. Oh, it's just disabled. Thank fuck for that. I'm sick of drawing myself in guitar form. This bit, I just didn't want to draw, but all of this needs to be redrawn, I think. It just doesn't look good. And then it crashes. Right, yeah. And then after that, I think I'll need to, I'll decide whether or not I want to do it in color or not at the time, but I don't think I am going to do it in color. And the only reason I don't want to do it in color is because it's going to be too much work. It's going to be too much work. It's already gone overdue by like 2 weeks.